Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more, bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the FinFab channel, iHealth Radio. New day, new topic, new show, new guest. And today I'm going to do a little bit of a mashup, business and pleasure at the same time. And the business being the concepts and that we're going to educate folks and inspire them with. And then the pleasure is we're going to talk about something that, you know, one of the most favorite sports in the US and getting more popular around the world. And that's baseball. Baseball is the game. Now, no offense. I mean, we love the other games too, but we're going to talk about those possibly too. But today we're going to focus on baseball because I have someone who actually played baseball, you know, and good at it. So I have with me Joey Myers, and he'll tell us about his story. I mean, he has more certificates and certifications and different affiliations that I cannot enumerate all of them. So the best person to introduce Joey will be Joey. So Joey, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. Hey, I appreciate you making the time for somebody, like you said, in the baseball world. Now, I didn't play, for those out there thinking, what team did he play for in the big leagues? I didn't play in the big leagues. I did play 4 years Division I baseball at a college called Fresno State, which is in the central part of California. But hey, that's I'm maybe not part of the 1%, but I'm part of the 1.9% or something.
I'll take it. I know a lot of people would appreciate that. Trust me. You know, there's only a few people that play in those as well. So I think we're up there. We can't get the top. We'll get the second top, but that's all good. Right. I'll take it. Well, listen, no, definitely. I appreciate that. And by the way, you're being humble about that. So,
yeah.
You know, but most people, you know, they know where they stand, and that's you. And I appreciate that. But that's great. And that's going to lead us later on to discussion of leadership and coaching and all this stuff. And those are all concepts that people sometimes don't see.
Right.
You reach a certain, you know, level of expertise, and you use that to a lot of advantages. But really, so first things first. I mean, I want you to tell us about your story about baseball. I mean, obviously, you don't just make it to play in those leagues unless you're really good at it. Mm-hmm. And then you took it to the next level from there, and you started actually taking it and teaching people through coaching. You also know a lot of things about, you know, fitness and the body movement and all that. And we'll talk about all that. So let's start with that. Let's talk your story with baseball, when it started, how it went through, and how was your path throughout the college days?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So it was funny. I was talking to a couple of my players because I do small private group sessions with kids age from 11, 12, all the way up through college. I have some college freshmen and sophomores that I've worked with. They're in freshman, sophomore year of college. I've worked with them since they were like 7, 8, 9 years old. Right. And we were talking about some of my origins, and I tell them, I said, it was tough for me because my parents weren't really athletic. My mom probably more so. She was a cheerleader, played a little softball, but she wasn't very much into it. She just did it just to do it in high school. And my father, who he would say, if he was sitting on with me right now, self-proclaimed nerd, had the pocket protector. He did serve for our military, Air Force in Vietnam and Air Guard. He was, I think, in the Air Guard, Air Force for like 40 years, and then served after he retired. Yeah, after he retired, he was 10 years in the Army Guard as a civilian. So, I mean, he wasn't a fruitcake or anything, but he was a nerd and loved math, and he loved to drag race cars. And either of those skills, with exception of my mom playing softball, she was the only one that had any kind of experience in the stick and ball sport. So I didn't really grow up with parents who had paved the way in the sport. So I was probably around 10 or 11, I became more interested and a little bit more infatuated with baseball. And I really it started my journey of really self-discovery. And I fell in love. I think my first baseball card was Mark McGwire, Don Mattingly and Mark McGwire. So Don Mattingly with the Yankees out, you guys out there. I don't know if you remember him at all. Donnie Baseball with the big mustache with the Yankees. And he first baseball card. And then I love the color green. So the Oakland A's are the only green team that has really any green in the big leagues. So and then they had the 88 and the 89 World Series, right? 88 where the A's got beat by the Dodgers with Kirk Gibson's his floppy leg home run where he got pulled off, pinch hit where he had the bad leg and hit the homer to beat, not to beat him the whole thing, but I think it was game 2 or 3 or something. And then 89 with the Bay Area series where they beat the Giants and swept them. And that just started my whole infatuation with the game and obsession with the game. So from there, I started digging into books. I started getting hitting lessons and things like that. And I love the game. I was a player, like I tell mine, you're either a player who gets pulled through the sport, or you're a player that gets pushed through the sport. So if you're pulling yourself through the sport, inspiration wise, you're doing it yourself. There's not a lot of pushing that your parents have to do or any kind of mentors really have to do. And those are the players that are really special to watch because they are on a self journey of trying to get better. And they're doing what they can. They're either hiring somebody to help them, a mentor, or they're reading books, or they're doing whatever they need to do. Looking online now, back in the day, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have YouTube. Some people listening to this, the Gen Xers, they are the millennials. They wouldn't believe that we wouldn't have access to YouTube or anything. We had books. And if we wanted to library, and if we wanted to get in touch with somebody who's really good, like if it was a player or phone book. Yeah. Phone book, or you had to write a letter. Yeah. I remember writing my friend saying, "Hey, I heard somebody wrote a letter to so-and-so at the baseball stadium." You just write a letter and you send it to the baseball stadium and they got a response and the whole thing. Like the millennials now, they're like, what? I could just reach out Snapchat. Over Twitter or Instagram.
That's right.
So that was it. So that got me, I got a scholarship, almost full ride scholarship. So I got my school paid for, and I got maybe $200, $300, $400 for books per semester to pay for my books. So it was a great gig, and got 4 years of education for pretty much free. I had to, come up with a little bit of money for some of the other books, but I got a full education, got to play at a Division I college, and for a coach Coach Bob Bennett, who was elected into, so my last year was 2013. So it was the spring of 2000. Spring of 2003. Sorry, I had a 3 in it. 2003. And he got elected into the Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame, NCAA Division I Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame in 2013. 34 years at Fresno State. They went to the College World Series, I think, once. And he was just a phenomenal coach. And you talk about the leadership and everything. And we had these meetings in January before the season started, these double days and triple days, where he'd sit us down. We'd practice 2 times. We called 3 a days. So we'd practice 2 times. One was in the morning, one was afternoon, which is a little longer. And then the evening cap was we'd have to sit after being super tired from the whole day and a week or 2 of this. And we'd have to listen to coach talk for an hour about how to put your socks on. How to put your socks on, how to put your stirrups on, how to put your pants on, how to put your belt on right. And we just thought, looking at each other, what the hell does this have to do with anything? But it had everything to do with it. It was attention to detail, right? And that's what we sometimes forget, is that detail and everything. So I could appreciate it just because my parents weren't really into it growing up, and I had to learn everything on my own. And I really had to go and look at what the detail was, what a movement looked like, and what was it in the movement that really gave the output that we were seeing happen. So I feel like that attention to detail is huge today and is sorely missed by some people.
We're going to talk about that. I mean, that's big. But first of all, thank you for sharing that. And I have to say, I mean, first of all, your journey is unique because you're almost self-made when it comes to your destiny there, because to your point, and I know that feeling when your parents are not really doing the stuff you do. It's a little hard, or they're not participating. But you love something, you have it in you have a passion for it, and you're going to do, and you're determined to do something with it. But you did, you took it, you learned, It took you to free, college, round, and to a decent level of fame, because I mean, college is college. I mean, baseball, all these teams are actually out there and people see them, and they know, and it's fun and has its own, category of distinguished, folks. And so that's awesome. And that's an experience. But then also you had to meet some of the top, people like this particular coach, and the experience itself is important, because when you get somebody that at that level to lead you, to teach you, that stays with you for life. And that knowledge is something that is not cheap. And you don't get it all the time. Not everybody has access to those folks, in the first place. Right? You said it. I mean, you had to write stuff to get someone to even respond to you and give you a tip. Now you get someone that's real, that understands the game, and is giving you things that not only can help you in the game, but help you outside of the game. Because that's the other part. A lot of things that you learn through sports live with you in your life, and you apply them without even thinking about them. Subconsciously, it's already there. It's instilled in you, and they work. You apply them in business. Now you're a business person. We're going to talk about that shortly, and you help businesses, and you do a lot of things. So you really do a lot of things. But all this starts with that base, that foundation you had then, and that's to our listeners. It's important that you don't miss those things, if you have kids and for yourself, whatever the case may be, every single step in life is going to be something that's going to build you for the future. And if you do it correctly in the beginning, everything else is going to be correct. And not only that, you'll take it to the next level and start sharing with other people. Today, that's what we're doing. We're sharing your experience and your motivation and your tips that we're going to share as well. So there's new folks here that'll be like, wow, I didn't know this. I'm not sure. I can't even see the relationship between being, in baseball and learning how to do business. Well, we're going to make that linkage right now. I mean, so those are the things that people sometimes don't see. And to your point, that's detail, Right. But your experience. So my question to you is, you were looking up at this coach, and yes, at the beginning, we all do the same thing. We look at somebody that's teaching us stuff like, what's the point? Like really, we don't even understand the concept until later on. You'll be like, now I know. But so you were there, then you started learning and you started adjusting and applied everything. Obviously you went through it, with flying colors, right? And then you moved on to life happens. And again, I mean, short of making it to the big league, I mean, you were there, but that's it. Now you move on to regular life. But now you went and get certifications because you wanted to stay in there. And then you wanted also to the next level, which is like, let me take all the stuff I learned, let me apply it. And then you became part of these coaching, associations and groups, and you do that yourself now. So let's see, like, if you were to compare yourself with your coach, where would you think your stage would be? Like, what would be your rank? I mean, it's a tough question. And by the way, I know exactly, you're probably gonna have the answer. Like, he's still gonna be my mentor, and that's the end of it. I mean, but really, like, you've learned, but you also advance, you improve. Things change over time. I mean, the athletes today are different from the athletes back in the days, just because everything that's available to them. So I want to just, kind of explore that discussion there for a minute, because people actually always compete in their mind with their coaches and stuff. I mean, it's common that people like, I want to be like him, I can do better, and this and that. And that's a discussion that you usually have. You don't say it, but you have it.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is both coaches. So I had Coach Bennett for my first 3 years, freshman through my junior year. And then we had a new coach come in my last year, which is always a challenge when you have somebody new coming in when you're on your way out. And the newer coach, he's there now. He was a little bit more new age, brought a little bit more flavor to everything. And I'd been there for 3 years, kind of knew what to expect from Coach Bennett. So to get it from another coach. So I learned a little something from each. And I know you say compete. And I think the two things that you tend to look at, whether it's business or sports or coaching, whatever, is you take what you learn to do, which you learn something from these coaches, what to do and what you found to be successful, but you also learn some what not to do. And there was a lot of both in both cases. I think more so I learned more of what not to do in the second coach. I appreciate what he did, but there were some things that I probably would have changed, made a little bit different. But one of the things really, there was towards the end of the year, I was about 6 weeks towards the last part of the season. I wasn't having a very good season at all my senior year. A lot of it had to do with myself. I was in my own head, and physically I could do it, but I let my own self kind of get in the way. So what I learned, and the type of player I was, is you tell me what to do, I'm a steam engine. I will do it and do it and do it. And throughout my life and through my career, I was very honored to have great coaches, great knowledgeable coaches. And I was always, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. And it wasn't until towards the end, I don't know if maybe it was just me getting that, starting to question now, starting to, like you said, starting to make that transition from the sports, playing sports your whole life and going into the business world, but started to question things. And at the end there, wasn't doing very well, wasn't playing. And there was a couple things that happened. It could be another talk for another day, that really got me upset and pretty emotional. And we were having a Friday night batting practice. Our games were Friday, Saturday, Sundays. And the Friday nights were usually the 7 o'clock games or the 6 o'clock games. So it was, it actually was Thursday. So it was the night before. We were having a night batting practice to get ready for the Friday night game. And I was stewing. I was pissed because a couple of things. Coach had talked to a friend of mine who was actually doing pretty well. He was the same year as me, good buddy of mine since high school, junior high and high school. And I talked to him in a game. They went to a high school game to recruit, and he was talking to my buddy about me instead of coming to me about it. And that really ruffled my feathers a little bit. So coach comes walking over. I was in a group of 2 or 3 other guys that really weren't playing as much either, but were pretty good. So he comes walking over, and I'm pissed. And he saw it. He goes, "Hey, Joey, you look like you're pretty pissed." So I let him have it. I said, "Hey, I don't appreciate you talking to my teammates, especially my good buddies, about blah, 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 drama. And so I really laid into him, and I didn't care because I wasn't going to play. What was he going to do? How much worse could it get? I mean, I guess he could kick me off the team, but who cares at that point? I had 6 weeks, 8 weeks left of the season. So I got it out. I learned to step up, to be my own advocate, basically. And what came out of it was, he was the type of guy, and you've probably met these kind of people, males, females, that you step up to them, you earn their respect. And it took me until the last 6 to 8 weeks of that year, my last season, to learn that about him. So I stepped up to him, I let him have it, and he goes, "All right." He goes, what I was going to do before walking up here, he was going to do this apparently, but I don't know. Maybe he was just trying to test us. But he goes, "I'm going to let you guys play." So there's 2 or 3 of us. I'm going to let you guys start, not taking you out this whole series, this whole 3-game series. We're just going to let you guys play. And that was it for me. That's all I needed. And that was like, I was probably hitting 100, maybe at that point. I probably finished the season around the last part of the season, about 400. So I was probably the happiest 200 hitter at the end of that season, right? Because I proved to myself that, 1, I can stand up for myself. And number 2, that I can finish strong, that I wasn't going to finish the rest of my career, my last, 8 weeks of my career in such a bad, slumpy state. So I was able to bust through. So when you ask, competing against coaches, I think it's more of, for me, you take a little bit of each, right? You take what to do and what not to do. And really transitioning into the business world, I learned that, hey, you need to question. Don't care how good somebody is or how skilled that they are. If they're having you do something, or if you're going into a business agreement, that you have to question everything. You have to be discerning. You have to use critical thinking, and you have to question it, and you have to stand up for it. And oftentimes you're going to be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times. My wife can tell you, but you have to stand up for what you think is right. If you're wrong, I tend to refer to myself as an aim first, or a fire first, aim second. And my daughter's like that. My daughter right over here, she's 5, going to be 6. She's the same as me. My son is the opposite. He's aim first, fire second. He wants to make sure he's making the right decision. And so, yeah, we get burned a little bit, us fire first, aim seconds. But, I learned that one situation with that coach, that was the big one for me. That was if I think back about one of the biggest moments in my life, that was a change in my mental paradigm. That was a big one.
Well, Joe, thank you for sharing a lot of good stuff there. And I want to just dissect some of it. And one of it is the ability to you've comprehended, you understood the concept that every person is different, and there is good and bad. When I say bad here, I'm not meaning the bad, but I mean, there's not everything that you will learn is going to be of the value you want, but even the stuff you don't learn will teach you what to know, how to differentiate the good and the bad there in the situation. And that's in itself learning. And that's important, I think, for our listeners. I mean, in life, you're going to come across a lot of people, period and out. I mean, right now, if you're watching or listening to this show, you have two of us here, right? And will be some people that you're probably going to listen to and pick up a couple of things from. But at the end of the day, you're going to meet thousands of people, if not millions, throughout your lifestyle, life, span. And then what happens is that you're going to pick good. That's the thing. Like literally you just, scheme off the top, whatever you can get and just add it to your arsenal, to your ammunition, to your
like a buffet.
knowledge. Now that buffet, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. You don't have to I don't have anything to learn. You're always going to learn something.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Even if you are learning or not learning something is learning, because you learn that this is not the person I'm going to learn from something, and you have to avoid them. So you learn how to avoid those folks, right? So you have to find any way, like if you go with your mindset like that, you will always learn. And in every situation. And the other thing I think that's important, and you said it yourself here, and that's great. By the way, the coach was slick and smart. And that's a strategy that in leadership and coaching and people press that button. They push you to the extreme to see how whether you're gonna just collapse and just pull out and that's it, like give up, or you're just gonna nope, I ain't taking this.
I made him look good. I made him look good at the end.
But that's exactly so. That's the role of a coach, and you are the coach today, so this is to get them to actually see themselves, their value, what they're capable of, and push to the extreme. But sometimes it takes that moment when you got to put them on the edge and kind of like push off, and and then they figure out how to fly.
Yeah, right.
But that's really the same concept here. Like it took a moment. It took him to get you to that because he realized, to your point, you said you were in your head. He figured that out. I mean, you can tell when someone is getting to that, I got this, I'm all of it, and that happens to the best of us, right? I mean, you get to a point, you think like you're the expert and you get too overwhelmingly self-confident. And sometimes you don't want to hear anybody and what they have to say, and your way is the right way, everybody's way is wrong. And that's it. But by getting to trigger you to come up to him, that was the thing. And by the way, this is actually something you do even in business. Sometimes you take some employee that that has what it takes, but you got to give him the little nudge and the push. And sometimes it takes that little, tough love to make it happen. And it works. So that's awesome. And I think, again, thank you for sharing that, because it's a big concept that people have to be aware of. And if you are exposed to it, welcome it, but don't take it the wrong way. Sometimes it could be bad. Of course, you have to know who you're dealing with. But in this case, I mean, your coach didn't have any other ill feelings about it other than his purpose is to get you in shape, to get you to do your best. And he was able to pull that from you eventually, but he had to go to the extreme.
Well, and that's the thing, right? That's the getting somebody into the emotional state. You're going to get the truth. You're going to get what they really think, instead of when you ask somebody, hey, how's it going? How's the weather? You're going to get this facade, this defensive facade, and you're going to get these surface things. How are you feeling? Hey, I'm good. I'm good. But when you can get it, tap into that emotional state, and you don't have to be as direct like Coach was with me, but if you can get into that emotional state, you really get the truth out of people. You get them into that side, whether it's sad or whether it's anger or whether it's being happy, you get the truth. And that's, I think this sometimes that I learned, you're talking about that he taught me a lesson there. That's what I learned, is that sometimes whether it's a family member or a friend or whatever, you edge into them a little bit and they're going to forgive you. So, right. It's fire first, aim second. They're going to forgive you. You're probably going to look like an idiot, but you're going to get the truth. And not only am I not going to get the truth from them, or I'm going to get the truth from them, but they're going to get it from me, because we're both going to be emotional in that sense. So there's sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's not okay, but
there's a place for everything. But the other thing is that's an element here that we have to highlight, is that in this experience, right? It's highlighting the aspect of styles, because that was his style. And somebody else may have a whole different style. Maybe they will use a different tactic and it will work. Now, like in leadership, you have different formulas. Not everybody it's not a cookie cutter style. Everybody's the template. Everybody's got their own thing. Some people are firm, some people are different. Some people see the value of each person differently. What I see, like if you and I right now were to teach a class, we will have two different approaches. Even if we were learning the same things, and we'll this is what you're going to teach. We're going to have, and actually I went through this stage myself. We back in the days, I had a real estate school. So we had to get a course where you have to be able to present to groups and things like that. And so to get certified. Mm-hmm. And so when we did the course, it was two of us, and we had the same thing, but the class judged us differently. Everybody had a different approach to the class. We both did good. We passed, but each one of us, and they all highlighted the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it was all positive for the most part. But at the end of the day, two people walked in the same room, did the same exercise, and we had two different opinions and two different values that we were taking off. But that happens today in everything. And that actually is going to lead me to the next question is, as a coach yourself and as a player back in the days, what would you really define a good coach tactic and a good coach personality in general? Again, there's no set, because like I just said that there's different styles, but the core of it, what would be that ideal coach concept that will get the best of the best?
That's a great question. And that goes beyond, that goes parenting, that goes teaching, that goes coaching, that goes the whole thing. But the number one foundational thing that I think the best coaches have is they're able to be relational. So relationships, they build relationship. Now there's a give and take in that. You can't be too caring. I don't know if you can not be too caring, but if you're too caring, some players, like you said, everybody's different, right? You have to deal with the different players, the different personality types, the different characters. You have to deal with them differently. So you have to know what is too much on the caring side. So one person might take advantage of you. That might be used as a weakness, right? So being caring, being a confidant, sometimes being a counselor, sometimes knowing how much to ask, sometimes, because some players aren't going to open up, some people aren't going to open up as much. But just like with the coach, my last coach, he knew how far to push to get me to finally take that step and commit and say, all right, hey, this is it. This is what I'm thinking. But I think the coach that's very relational, like what I like to do with my players, is I like to be playful with them. And it's like a playful teasing. So some of my boys they're going through their dances at school and high school, right? They've had their formal, their Sadie's dance. And I have a couple that are freshmen in high school. So it's their first real dance that they've gone with the girls, so I'm a little playful with it. And then I have some girls too, some softball girls that are older, that are juniors, seniors in high school, and they might be in the same group with this person. And so they like to play with each other. The older gal calls the freshman guy a freshie, as a freshman, freshie, so this like playful style. So I think whether that's sports, whether that's business, I think there needs to be a little playfulness there. I think that makes for a really good relational coach, is to tease a little bit, but no, you can tease too much, some people. So you have to know how much to be able to playfully tease somebody to where you're not upsetting them. You're not making them embarrassed or whatnot. But I would say relationship is the best thing that you can do. Whenever the coach is too far off, like they're too locked in their room, they don't want confrontation, they don't want players in there. And that was the Hall of Fame coach who was elected in the Hall of Fame, Coach Bennett, later on in his career, because he had so much pressure being put on him from the media. At the time, he was getting older, he was in his 70s, and they were trying to push him out. And it was just sad to watch as he was finishing off his stellar coaching career, and how much pressure they were putting on. Softball was putting pressure on him because he was good at fundraising. He was good at building, they built the stadium with fundraising money for baseball, but the Title IX stuff was the female sport, the equivalent needed to have the same amount, but the female equivalent, the softball program, didn't want to go out and fundraise as much, this kind of stuff. So he had all this pressure. So he shut the door a lot more. Versus earlier on, when we go to the alumni games and we would talk to some of the past players that played for him in the 80s and the 90s when he was just going. He had an open door policy, or doors wide open. You could come in and chat with them and all that kind of stuff. And he said, yeah, things changed. Things got a little bit more pressure put on him. I think he was just more afraid of what he was going to say and didn't want to say the wrong thing and then fire him as he's in his golden years of coaching on his way out, getting the golden ring, relational.
Well, it's tough to be in the spotlight. I mean, just for that matter. I mean, it's hard, and you got to maintain that level, and you want to exit with it. You
Yeah.
don't want it to disrupt it at the end, right? But I think you hit on a big element that is a good piece of advice that we need to highlight here. That is, anybody, business, sports, if you're in a team, whether you're a player or a coach, it's that sociable aspect. You have to become a family in a way, because
Mhm.
you're going through, this is not going to be a overnight thing. I mean, it's going to
Mhm.
be an ongoing for at least a few years, if not, more than that, right? And so you need to know each other, you need to trust each other, and that doesn't happen overnight. And plus, every person is different. Like, you can have a full team and they're literally multiple personalities, and each one of them has a different, way of operating. And
Mm.
you have to be able to be like almost feeling those personalities and understanding them equally, and making sure that you don't rub anyone the wrong way. At the same time, you understand what's going to get them to deliver. And
Mhm.
that's true for business. That's true for everything. I mean, I've had multiple teams in the business world, and exactly it. Not everybody is the same. We're not cut from the same, cloth type of thing, right? Everybody's different, and each one of them has its own way. And so therefore you have to understand it. And you only understand it if you're close enough to know that. And
Mhm.
you have to open to them so they can actually share the true personality. To your point, they can be shallow and you're not going to get anything. And therefore you're
Mhm.
not going to be able to work with them accordingly. And it takes discussions, like to your point, open door policy. Let's talk what works, what's up. And then you can make the adaptation. That's the other thing. You have to be malleable yourself.
Mhm.
If you just rigid, there's only one way. I want this. I want everybody to do exactly what I want. That's the end of it. That ends the deal right there.
Yeah.
So leading is not simple. People think like, okay, you're in charge of. No, that's being a boss. You can tell people what to do, but they
Mm.
may not do it.
Right.
But in coaching, it's different. It's mentoring. It's really being there for them. It's showing them why and get them to really get motivation. That's the other thing. Motivation is key. And as I think part of coaching and leading is motivating.
Mhm.
If you can't get the team excited and motivated, then you're not going to get any results. And like, they'll be walking like zombies, Okay,
Yeah.
sure. We're going to swing that bat. All right. But so that's the thing. You have to create something, get them some competitive spirit going and all that stuff. And that's actually powerful. And coaching is listen, coaching. I was watching, literally, I was doing almost one of those encore movies, with
Mhm.
We Were Soldiers. I don't know if
Yep.
you've seen it.
Mhm.
That's an awesome movie, and I was rewatching it, and it's powerful. Like the words, that Mel Gibson
Mhm.
was talking about. I mean, it's a sad movie. I mean, there's crazy stuff in that movie, but the concept of leadership that was displayed there, it's just awesome. The way it was portrayed, and you see that in sport movies and war movies, and even
Mhm.
corporate movies. And that's something that is really extraordinary, to actually observe and watch and learn from, because those are experiences that each and everyone can take, few items and apply them, and they'll make a whole different, personality of you.
Right.
So
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
you mentioned rigid, right? Not having a rigid plan. Like you said, yeah, you can be a
Yes.
boss and you can tell everybody what to do. And another interesting story is so this is with my last year, we had faced a guy from Louisiana Tech. So Louisiana Tech's, they were in our league at the time, but they weren't very good. But for whatever reason, they had this little crafty left-handed pitcher, and I was right. Most of our team was right-handed hitting. At least we had a few lefties in the lineup. But he pitched against us on a Friday night, so we would play 3 games against Louisiana Tech at our place. And then later on in the season, we'd play 3 games at their place. So we would go there in Ruston and we'd play them. So at our place Friday night, he, as a left-hander, for those familiar with baseball, he didn't throw very hard, but he was very crafty. He was able to throw his curveball. They call it a backdoor curveball. So the curveball would start on the outside part of the plate. You'd give up on it, and then it would curve back over and be a strike. And so our plan, and this is one thing I learned that was really good, the last coach had taught us, was to actually have a plan, have an approach at the plate. So where you're hunting, you're looking for a specific pitch in a specific location. So he had told us, our coach, he said, okay, you're either going to hunt 2/3 of the plate. Either this is your choice. You can hunt it a fastball 2/3 away of the plate, 2/3 in. So either one. So that was your choice in what you wanted to do, but it had to be fastball. So we were all hunting our fastballs 2/3 away or 2/3 in, whatever our lineup decided to do. Well, this pitcher was throwing a curveball on the outer half of the plate. So we're all thinking fastball, right? So he's strike one, strike two, strike one, strike two, strike one, strike two. And all of us are getting to 2 strikes because we're all taken because we're looking for the fastball because coach told us to, right? And coach had told us also that if you wanted to hunt something other than a fastball at the beginning, it was going to be an act of Congress. We had to bring all these scouting things and we'd have to bring all this evidence of why we wanted to do this. It was an act of Congress to be able to switch, get the plan to switch. So anyway, that Friday night, that pitcher, they beat us that night. So fast forward to when we go to their place, same Friday night guy, my buddy and I were sitting on the bus. We're going to the field, I think the night before to take batting practice to get used to the field. And we were watching the video from that game, the prior game with him pitching. And the video was from center field. So we could get a bird's eye view, backwards view and see what was happening. So we're watching this guy and it was to all the righties, backdoor curveball, strike one, backdoor curveball, strike two. We're like, and he kept doing it.
That's
So we
his
go,
signature.
Signature.
Yeah.
So, and it worked, right? Because we were all programmed to look for the fastball 2/3 away or 2/3 in, didn't really matter, but we were looking for a fastball. So my buddy and I decided, you know what? This is at fire first, aim second, again, showing up. We said, you know what? We're just going to hunt 2/3 away curveball, 2/3 away curveball. So we told our teammates, we didn't tell coach because we didn't want him to get upset or anything like that. We're just going to kind of show what happened. So come time for the game. Same guy throwing, same approach. He took the same approach against us because it worked before. And I think we got him out. We hit him out in the 3rd or 4th inning. He didn't last more than 3 or 4 innings. And my buddy, I think, ended up going 4 for 5. He might've had the cycle. So he hit a single, double, triple homer. I think I had a homer. I was like 3 for 4 with the homer and a couple doubles. So it just went to show that, and coach wasn't upset. So we found out that he wasn't upset if we went off the plan a little bit. But it's the same idea, right? You talk about being rigid with what you're doing. I think that can be used and exploited as a weakness. And I think it doesn't really earn that relationship between boss and employee or colleague,
And Joey, thank you for really sharing. I love that actually. But that's a true example of what happens when you in the lead, you only won one way and you're not open to potential change. You see, every situation happens and you have to adapt. I mean, in martial arts, we use this term of adaptability. You have to adjust. You're not like, we don't go out there like, okay, the guy is going to swing to the right. I'm going to do this particular technique. You don't know what's going to happen. They slip, they throw it. It's a different angle. What are you going to do? So you can't just say like, well, he didn't send it straight. Okay, well, guess what? Too bad. You got it in your face. Doesn't work that way. So it's the same concept. You have to be able to adjust. And as a coach, you have to let the team, they're playing. You can go with the best plan. Once they're in that field, they're the ones who are seeing what's going on and they're dealing live. No one that happens. Like, even we can talk war. The politicians, the Pentagon can actually decide on everything. But once these guys out there, they're really live time. I mean, they're not actually waiting for decision. They have to make split, second decisions. There's nothing you can do about it. So once, and we use this in business, once you send them and you deploy your troops and you deploy your teams, they're in the trenches, they're doing their thing. You can monitor and adjust as you need, give tips, but sometimes they have to make the necessary adjustment to get the results. Otherwise, you're going to be held responsible. Like, well, your team didn't deliver. Hello. So you have to give that ability to, that almost autonomy to make those split decision moments. But if you don't, that's a problem. And you're right. Some I think more novice, coaches and leaders, they make that mistake. As they get expertise, they realize that, you know what, I'm going to go with the plan. There's always a backup plan, and there's another backup plan to the backup plan. You're not going to go with one strategy. So this, and that's the other thing. Look at this other team. The guy was using the same tactic because that worked. See, on the flip side, same thing probably happened to the other coach. You're only doing this, it's working, right? But he didn't realize, well, dude, I did it the other time, it worked. These guys probably did their homework. They know better. So if he had switched on you guys, you probably would have, gotten thrown off the thing. But he didn't.
Right.
So I'm almost positive that the guy on the other side had the same concept. It's working. Keep the technique. You don't. You just allow the person, because they're the only ones who can assess that moment. Business the same. Life is the same. You can't, just because he was working a certain way. That's the biggest mistake that happens in everything. That's the only way we know. That's always been done that way. Okay. Well, we evolve, and evolving can happen in split seconds,
Right.
increments. And that's really the difference in how you can be a top, producer and a top leader, a top coach, and or you can have mediocre or like less, valuable results because you're not open to more things. We talked about technology.
Mhm.
Today, technology is it. We have to adapt. I mean, imagine we're still sending email. I mean, sending postcards to get, oh no, we don't want to adapt to science or to the technology that we have today. Doesn't
Mhm.
work.
Right.
You got to adjust.
Mhm.
So I wanted to just hop on that one because I think that's a big component of discussion of leadership and coaching and mentoring, and also for people that are learning. You have
Mhm.
to be able to speak up too. Like, yes, you might upset someone, but that's the other thing. Like, if you allow people to share opinion,
Mhm.
it's, they can. You don't have to take them, but listen first,
Yeah.
then decide. Let me see. You got a better idea? Sure. Again,
Mhm.
I can be the smartest guy in the room, but I'm never going to be smarter than everybody else together.
Right.
Like, I might think that way. Like, none of us is better than all of us, as we say, right? So,
Right.
so I want, there's like, if there's 10 people, there's 20 brains, and I'm joking because each one has the left
Yeah.
and right. So it's a joke, but really, there's not you. There's other people, and they might see it from an angle like, damn. And it happens all the time.
Mhm.
You're in a room and someone throws in like, I love it. Let's do it.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing. As a leader, it's not always your way. It's
Mhm.
what's gonna work for the group. If
Mhm.
you're a team, it's what's gonna get you to that to the cup or to get whatever trophy you're gonna get. If it's business, it's gonna get you to that target, and your target and making the bonus, whatever the case may be, right?
Mhm.
It's a contract, whatever. Again, it's that kind of what we're gonna do together to make it happen. And that's the other thing. Team is team, right? There's no I in team, right?
Mhm.
And yes, and that's, I think sometimes coaches do forget that.
Mhm.
And again, I'm not judging,
Yeah.
but when I say coaches here, business or sports,
Mhm.
if it's always about them, that's when they start losing.
Yep.
But it's,
I agree.
you're not any good without your team. You're
Mhm.
not, there's no leader that is good without their team. You can't even claim to be a leader if you have no team. If the team doesn't follow, what kind of leader are you?
Well, right. And you're not, like, you talk about war, right? I love war. Military history is one of my favorite. I was, you mentioned martial arts too. And I took 3
Oh,
years
nice.
mixed martial arts back in high school and kind of in the midst of the baseball soccer world that I did. But if you're not listening to the troops on the ground, like you said, they're the ones in the trenches. They're the ones that with the intel, right? If you think you're that smart as a general and you're sitting off in some nice, cozy room, and you got your troops that are telling you, hey, general, this is happening, and you say, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. You're like you said, you're losing.
Well, it's funny because we're talking about general, and again, we respect all our
Yeah. Oh,
military.
yeah. Of
But
course.
when I say, I mean, we have a joke. We say field generals, like in the business world, literally.
Mhm.
Like, so in my world, I consider myself a field general, which means I run the operation from the office, but I actually hang out in the trenches with the team.
Yes.
And
field
so,
general.
So
Mhm.
that's the difference. And the reason is, if you're a general, that means you've been through different wars. You've gone there,
Mhm.
right? You've done it, and that makes you an expert. But war time changes.
Mhm.
Things change. So if you're not every time in the trenches with
Mhm.
everybody, you're not going to adapt to the new stuff. You might
Right.
know about it, use an old tactic. And by the way, old tactics work,
Mhm.
but you have to be able to mix and match, what
Mhm.
you know plus what's new. And if you adapt to it, you're always going to be ahead of the curve, no matter what. We're not talking military here in general. So
Yes.
even at work, if
Mhm.
you are running teams, especially in sales, and we're going to talk about your book and sales and SEO and stuff in a minute, but
Mhm.
really the concept is, if you're going to run groups and teams to achieve targets and goals, whatever those things are, unless you're out there, like I have this challenge all the time at work, in general, where there are people that always are, they always kind of tend to know your business. So let me explain. I'm in
Mhm.
sales, but everybody else is an expert in sales.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
when you ask people, how many sales have you done in your life? No, I don't know. Never. Okay. How many times you've actually gone in front of a customer to handle? How many times you were in the street to be able to be exposed to actually the deal and the discussion stuff? Never. Well, how can you possibly even know what we go through? You see, like,
Right.
for me, I swear, I can tell you this, my wish, and eventually if I have the possibility to do this, is that I want everyone to train like everybody, like cross train everybody
Mhm. Mhm.
with the troops. because you don't know what a soldier goes through until you're actually in their shoes. When you have those things zipping over your head, the bullets are like, all over you, and you hear those sounds. That's not the same thing as watching them on TV.
You're right.
It's the same thing when you're in the street. Like I can share something about my business, like in my day business. I'm in the insurance world in New York City, and we actually have agents all over the New York area, and some of them go to homes, some of them are at pharmacies, some of them are at doctor's office, some of them in the street. And I have been in those places where we've had fights, we have knives, we have people still in front of and snatching purses in front of you. I've had bullets actually in the next block, being shot at. When someone is in the office, they don't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can read about it in the news, but when you're there, it's a whole different story. And that's actually real. This is not a joke. This is real.
No, I know. I believe you.
You're in Harlem, you're in some places, and it sounds like in the movies. I'm telling you, it's not in the movies. I've been there.
I believe you.
Seen it. And people don't relate to that because they don't understand it. You go to somebody's home, it may not be the ideal place. We've had people that did stupid things. We had guys that are just open up their ropes and hello. It's crazy, so it's crazy stuff that you're exposed to, but people don't know. You're in the cold, you're in the heat, while somebody is in the office. It's not the same. So yes, you can imagine how it feels, but it's not the same thing as what it feels.
Field general.
Exactly. Field general is the key. So yes, we want to have that leadership, but we want to be part of it. And that's the other thing. You can't lead if you don't have the same experience. If you didn't play, how would you know?
Right.
You can't be a strategic, theoretical, type of coach or leader because you just, you read a couple of books. That's great. You watch a couple of movies. That's great. But have you tried it? Because let me put you to the test. Let's go together.
Yep.
Right. And you'll be surprised sometimes. Like they'll be like, "Oh, if I can do a better job than my team, I suck."
Yeah.
And I say it all, like, I'll challenge anyone. You want to get head to head with me? I'm down, baby. I'll show you how it's done. And that's how it is. And that's the difference. You have to have that commitment, but then you step back and you guide the people, right? You guide them, you're with them, you guide them, but you don't over push, and you allow them to make the adjustment necessary, and it works. Now, some people, that's the other thing. In some teams, you do have to, not everybody's going to be autonomous. You have the people that you have to hold hands.
Right.
And those are fine. That's also good. And that's what they need. So now you understand your team well enough to know that this person, hold hand, this person, let go. You know that system well enough, you adjust it correctly, you're always going to be a winner. And that's really, all teams want to win. There's no team that I know that gets into any competition that like, we're going to lose. I have not heard of that one yet, but
right.
so everybody is in it to win it. Right. So, but again, I love this discussion. It's just fun. We can go for hours, but so now let's talk about you in the business world. And so you've written books. Well, I think a book, right? One book?
Couple books. It's like 4 or 5 now, 5 or 6.
Yeah. So,
but big ones. There's like two big ones that, yeah.
So books about business, strategy, I think, right?
More on the baseball side. The business strategy side is going to be coming. We're kind of, it's a work in the process.
Well, so first let's talk about the baseball books. So what are the main core topics there that people can, first of all, would like to hear about them, and maybe we'll put the links for people to actually can, research them and maybe even get them and learn from them, because I know you do this for a living, and I know you have great insights that people can actually take. Right now we're talking about it, but when you read it, there's more details there. There's more traction there that people can actually really apply. There's nothing wrong with actually learning something new and new tactics. Sometimes even just one little thing in a book can change your life. Literally. So what are the names of the books, if you don't mind?
So what's interesting about the books is that they go into the business side as well, because anybody can write a book. It's really easy nowadays to write one. It's not hard. It's not easy to write a book, but it's easy once you got it written to get it up on Amazon. As long as you got pressbooks.com, that helps you format it. You put it in there in the system, you set it up as chapters and the whole thing. Then it spits out the format that you need. And then you just upload it to Kindle Direct Publishing, right? So it's really easy. Once you get it written out, it's easy to get up and get out. But then how you sell it and how you become a bestseller, if that's what you want to do, which Catapult Loading System was the first one that I wrote. And that was the headline. And then the subhead was how to teach 100-pound hitters to consistently drive the ball 300 feet, which at the time that was unheard of. There's like people were going, they were
What?
telling me I was full of it. You know, you teaching a 100-pound, then they do the math and they go, well, can a 300-pound hitter hit it 900 feet then? Because they know that's not real. You can't do that, right? And I said, no. There's a diminishing return here. But what I'm saying is, and this was all, that title came from my own being in the trenches, being that field general, and actually seeing it with my own eyes, and having video, having parents being able to catch that at the time when it first started was like unicorns. And then the unicorns became not as unicorny, right? Like it was happening more often, and it wasn't just a one-time flash in the pan thing. So that title came to me through just that being in the trenches and working, doing the swing experiments. And even before that, what I had decided, and this was in a non-sleeping, we had our first son and he was waking up 6 times a night and weren't getting any sleep, bumping into walls, putting the keys in the freezer, you know, the whole thing. And I was reading a book. I was trying to, I had a knee injury that from indoor soccer we were doing, my wife and I, after we were done with college and all that stuff. And I was trying to rehab a knee injury. So I stumbled upon a book called Anatomy Trains by Thomas Myers. Same last name, and I'm sure we're on the family tree somewhere, but I don't know him per se, right? But he was a more of a, they call it a body worker, more of kind of, it feels, what he does is like a deep tissue massage type thing. But what he's doing is he's putting your fascia, he's lining your fascia back up. For those familiar with fascia, I know this isn't the format to get into the weeds on that, but just knowing that I was reading that book. And then what I started to make connections on is I started that book because I wanted to fix myself. But what I found was that, holy crud, we can actually reverse engineer the swing to optimize the body in not only high performance, but also low injury rates. So lower the injury rates. So what I did was I started what we say now is applying human movement principles that are validated by science to hitting a ball. So that's what we're doing. So we take engineering principles, we take the body work stuff, biomechanics, and we take like physics, we take those principles and we apply them to hitting. And a lot of people were upset. They'd say, well, the father of the spinal engine, that's one of our main tenets in our hitting system, is Dr. Serge Grakovetsky. He's an older gentleman up in Canada. He's a physicist and a biomechanical engineer, and came up with this spinal engine. He's got all kinds of case studies. He's got all kinds of studies on that. And they'd say, well, how many base hits in the big leagues did Dr. Serge Grakovetsky get? You know, these guys, these Sunday quarterback type coaches, right? And so that was the kind of thing that we were on. So what happened was, so I wrote that book within a year. So I wrote that January 2017. By January 2018, I have that little Amazon best-selling author sticker. So I screenshotted that, and it was right above one of the most well-known hitting books by Ted Williams called The Science of Hitting. So it's got the Science of Hitting, and it's got Catapult Loading System, and I have the best-selling sticker and he doesn't. But with bestsellers, I mean, you have to keep up with the sales, have to be there all the time. And so, eventually that sticker disappeared, but I did get the snapshot of it. So the question is, writing a good book, but also being able to market it. And on Amazon, the biggest thing with Amazon are reviews. So you have to get reviews. And what's cool about that is, or with Amazon, KDP Publishing, is that you can run freebie sales, which are like for the ebooks. And I had a big email list at the time, or had a growing email list at the time. And I was able to email that list and we say, hey, we're doing a free book, giving away free book. And it'd be 1,500, 2,000 giveaway, that would take me up on the free ebook offer. And so in a short amount of time, I was able to
thousands of reviews.
Yeah, reviews and stuff like that. And so, and they were all like, right now, I think it's at an average of 4.4. And I've got over, between the first edition and second edition of that Catapult Loading System, I think it's over 200 plus reviews on there. And it's a 4.4 rating, which is really good. People really, when they do a book, they're very scared of the reviews. They don't, they know there's a lot of bad, and then there's bad people out there, but there's not as many as you think. They're going to be honest about the reviews. So that really helped on the reviews of the book. And of course the sales, I had ads going on Facebook that were pushing people over. And I think the biggest mistake I made there was I was pushing a lot of traffic to Amazon. The problem with Amazon, when you make sales on Amazon, is you don't get the customer info. They do. And you can't access that. You can't go in and say, hey, Amazon, can I have all the emails of the thousands and thousands of people that bought the book? They're going to say, who are you? So you can't. So then later on, I learned that I had to, probably should have done it sooner. Again, fire first, aim second, right? Is create my own system where through, point of sale, or not point of sale, but print on demand, POD, which I have that set up now, where I'm capturing my own sales and I'm capturing my own customer information. But again, it's a baseball book, and if people are interested, they can get it, but it's more of learning what it takes to get a book in the right. And that Amazon bestseller, by the way, is in the baseball coaching niche. It's not like it's in the #1 business books of all time. I'm not, that's not the bestseller that I got, but I took a little niche that had one book that was dominating the whole time, which is the Ted Williams Science of Hitting, and was able to overcome that within a year. So just kind of interesting journey on book publishing.
Wow. That's a lot. But thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's important, because I think as we're discussing now the business aspect of it, you use your skills, your knowledge, and now you turn that also into business and then making, money making opportunity, but it's how you market, as you said. And so I know you have discussions about SEOs and how to promote, how to kind of leverage the search engine optimization, just to define it, and make sure that you always rank well enough so people can see your business. And otherwise, you can have the best juice out there, but no one knows about it. Yeah. So what tips would you have about that? I mean, I know we talked about the Amazon part, but like in general, like in a Google search, for example.
Yeah. Great question. So what's funny is my online marketing chops, I first started back in 2008. So I did a website. It was in the baseball. It was Swing Smarter baseballhittingdrills.com. It was through a program called Site Build It, and Site Build It's main theme was content and then on-site optimization. So this is back in 2008. This is at the beginning of the search engine optimization time, and where you had a lot of black ops going on. You had white hats and black hats, right? So you had the black hats they're spamming basically with keywords, with pages. They're doing it in, say you have a white background and they're making the words white, but they're saying baseball hitting drills, baseball hitting drills, baseball hitting drills, baseball hitting drills. And they're just flooding the background with all these keywords, but you can't see them because they're white, right? So that would be an example of a black hat tactic in SEO back in the day. Now, Google's gotten so much smarter with the AI that they see that stuff and then boom, they bust you way down on your search engine optimization. You're not going to show up on the first page doing that kind of stuff, right? You have to do it. Google wants content. So content is king, and content, a lot of content. So if it's just like a letter, or like a letter form where you don't have video per se, you're looking at and it depends on your competitors. So 800 words to 1500 words for targeting a specific keyword. So one thing I really want, two things. So one thing is speed. So the loading speed of the site is huge. So Google weights that very much. So if it takes 9 seconds for your site to load, Google's going to drop you down in the ratings. So number one, you got to have, and there's a lot of technical aspects to that. So I have a team, I have a small little team, and I have a tech guy who's really good. He's computer science guy named Kabir, and he's really good with that kind of stuff. And you go on the tech side. For those that don't have somebody like that, you can get plugins for WordPress like Yoast. Yoast is pretty good. They do a good job of having a system where on-site keywords, right? So you take a keyword, you put it in to the keyword thing, and then it'll tell you with red light, yellow light, green light, where you need to put that keyword, how often you need to do it, that kind of stuff. But the tech side is pretty important on the speed of the site. The second thing is, for most businesses, and this is what I learned later, this isn't what I knew in the beginning when I first started this, and I've kind of returned to it full circle. I went away from SEO in the middle. In the beginning, it was a big part of my websites. And then I went into more of like Facebook ads and the book publishing and sales funnels, putting together sales funnels and autoresponders, email stuff. And then I've since returned back to SEO just because of the whole environment, the whole marketing environment now, and how Facebook is just nuts right now, just with Apple's attacking them, telling them you can't do this and that and the other thing. And so now Facebook has to pull back and say, well, we can't do a 180-day cookie anymore. we can't put a cookie on a person's website for 180 days because there's privacy issues, and Apple won't allow that to happen. So now it's like a 21 day down to 14 day down to a 7 day. And I mean, pretty soon we won't be able to have cookies on people's sites anymore. And the cookies are, for those that don't know what a cookie is, when you talk about a pup tent that you want to buy, and you're just talking about it with your spouse, your friend, your whoever, and you go onto Facebook and you start scrolling down, you start seeing ads for pup tents, and you wonder what the hell's going on. Well, those cookies, right? So you visit these sites, and so those cookies get put on. So returning back to search engine optimization, and now there's a thing called search intent. So this is number 2. So search intent is I rank for both of these. So for my hitting site especially, I rank for hitting training. So those 2 words, very general, and they get maybe, and it's not a lot of search. Remember, baseball, softball industry is very small, but 3,500 searches a month. And if you're number 1 for that word, you're getting 85% of that traffic. Okay. So if you're ranked number 1, the number 1 rank for that specific terms, getting the bulk of the traffic, 85%. So do you want to rank for high volume search, which is general, or do you want to rank for low volume search that's more specific, long tail? And I've learned that if you're a business that isn't informational. So my Hitting Performance Lab, I have 360 blog posts on there, a lot of information. So I have sales funnels set up and in place and the whole thing. So it is educational. I am trying to educate people that are newbies, get them through the system and then sell them. But some businesses don't have that option. They could be an HVAC company, real estate, whatever. And they're looking maybe not so much to season a beginner and get them through to get them to buy a house or to invest in something or to pull the trigger on their HVAC services or whatever it is. They want the what we call bottom of funnel customers. So bottom of funnel or ready to buy customers. So that search intent is different. So for somebody who's searching hitting training, for instance, is going to be different. You're going to treat them different than somebody who's searching for hitting lessons near me or online hitting course reviews, right? Those are more long tail. They're going to not get as many searches. It might be a couple hundred searches a month, but those people are closer to the bottom of the funnel. They know what they want. They just want to review a couple different companies before they actually pull the trigger. And that's the big difference. Is search intent is huge. So what keywords are you focusing on versus, the high volume stuff? Search is cool. And it's cool to have that traffic coming in, but there's a lot of energy you have to spend in order to convert that traffic into an actual buyer.
So thank you, Joey. So you have the ability to help businesses right now to figure out their SEO ranking and adjust it and you test it out for them. And certainly you can get them better results and potentially better sales and growth. I mean, ultimately that's the bottom line. I mean, if you're in business, you're in business to make money.
Right.
Right. So, but you're right. I mean, it is tricky. And I have a business too. And I know it's not as easy as people think. Your name just doesn't pop up first. I mean, you can be in page 20, I don't know, somewhere out there. No one you have to keep moving more and more and more before you can get to somebody, right? Right. And that's because, again, to your point, key elements, keywords, how you place all this stuff and your speed of the site can, I do sometimes test them to see how my test is doing. I mean, my site, is it easily to load up, especially on the phones and things like that? I mean, that's the other part.
Mobile, that's another one. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Because I mean, you can be good on the computer, but once you put on the phone, that thing doesn't just keep buffering. Right. And a lot of people use their phones now as a search. That's where you see
80%
that's the first
of traffic.
I know. You're just on your iPhone. Okay, let me see. Click. Yep. You're not gonna go let me log into my computer. Nobody's doing that these days, unless you actually at the office.
Well, what's interesting is people are doing research on their phone and they're buying on their computer. That's what they're doing. So if you look at e-commerce and stuff like that, people they might go through the phone, they'll check some stuff out, see your reviews, they'll do the research first. And then when they're ready to buy, they tend to go to the PC, depending on the industry and stuff like that. But they tend to do the research on the phone first. And if that passes the test, and if your site sucks and it loads too long and it's not very mobile friendly, they're done. They're not even going to go to the computer to try and buy it.
Well, as they say, you can never make a second impression. First impression is the key, right?
On the online, especially.
Yeah, I mean, once there's plenty. That's the thing. There's fierce competition. You're not the only player. If you had a monopoly in a game, that's one thing. But
Yeah.
you know, you take any product today. I mean, there's like thousands of them. You know,
Mhm.
thousands of companies competing for the same thing. And so,
Right.
and you can have the best quality. That's the other thing. Like, you know, you have everything top, but you just can't get enough people to really value what you have because
Mhm.
they're not seeing you where they need to be. You're not really as visible. And
Right.
again, branding is a key. We talk about that all the time because
Mhm.
in let's say in the insurance world, I mean, if your name is not recognizable by people, like, oh, who are you?
Yeah. Yeah. You're
You
not
know?
Geico. You're not that little lizard. Yeah.
Exactly. So and that's the other thing. Like, if you're not, and again, it costs money to be in front of people in that
Mhm.
frequency. I
Right.
mean, TV is expensive. Radio can be just as expensive. I mean,
Mhm.
online is the cheapest, and even Facebook can add up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
got to boost your stuff, you know, frequently, I mean, it can
Mhm.
literally just be thousands of dollars to really make the dent. I
Right.
mean, if you're gonna want thousands of people to see you and come to your site, especially when you promote a site,
Mhm.
that takes a lot more money than promoting it like a post or you know, a picture. It's two different things. So it costs more and it's actually less people. So you have to pay a lot more to get to the population.
Mhm.
It's a number game. 10,
And,
3,
that's
1.
what's great about long tail. That's what's great about long tail is you can take a company who is lesser known and you can compete. And there's a process that we use on long tail, and it's basically going like 6 layers deep. So like I said, hitting training, that's like 1 layer deep. And if you're going to try and compete with hitting training, which I do, like I show up 6 or 7 on Google, on page 1 of Google. So 6 or 7 in there. It fluctuates between 5 and 8 or whatever it is. So I'm on there. I got enough backlinks. I've got enough content on that kind of stuff. But if you're not able to, like you're talking about in the insurance business, well, if you can take, say, stay with the same hitting example. So hitting training, I can go a little deep and say hitting training 2021. I could say hitting training online course 2021. I could say hitting best hitting training reviews 2021 online course or online lessons, or, you know, the deeper I go, the more I can rank for all of those different keywords. But people, there's so many searches that Google doesn't even tell you about that happen. I can't remember. There's a crazy amount of searches brand new that have never been searched before, certain keywords every day. And I can't remember. It's like in the millions. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about that. And so that's why I think the long tail keyword it's not easy, but it's an easier way to compete with the big, because Geico's not concerned with the long tail keywords, because they're, like you said, they got millions and millions and millions of dollars for branding, right? They can go on, they got YouTube lockdown. They got, ranked #1 on Google. They got all of them, omnipresence, right? They're all over the place and they're at the top places. Google AdWords, right? They're paying for placements everywhere and websites that part of their demographic. Well, how we can short circuit that a little bit is do what they don't do, or maybe what they don't really feel like they need to do, because they can just throw money at the problem, is to attack them like guerrilla warfare and go into the long tail keywords. Again, they don't get as many searches as, again, hitting training, right? Hitting training, 3,500 searches a month, but online hitting lessons might get, I don't know, 250 to 300 a month, but those people are ready to buy. All they're looking for is just a little nudge in the direction. Hey, I want to see his testimonials. I want to see some of his case studies before I pull the trigger. But that's a way that we can go use a little guerrilla warfare to slide under the radar. And, you know, something that Geico's not going to do in the insurance industry. They're not going to go that low. You know, they're not going to do that.
Well, Joey, guess what? I think you and I, we're going to have a discussion after this show. I'm going to have to put you with our marketing team and see if we can make a difference in our, strategy online. So,
sure.
That may be a real, I mean, I'm just talking about, like, I can see where we can do this.
and we can do it too. We can do it through all the different channels. So we can do it. We have like a content amplification process where we take a piece of content, or we take a string, like that 6 deep string of long tail keyword. And again, I can show your marketing team that. And we can turn that into a news article that goes into the news side, like Google News and all the different things. So basically like a press release going to the news, a blog post, a podcast, a slideshow, and what's the other one? The infographic. So, and a video. So there's 7 different modes. So we create all those 7 different pieces of content, all targeting a specific thing, that we're looking for. And then we send it out, we syndicate it out to 200 plus different websites, from blogs to news, all that kind of stuff, because content is king. And so we create a lot of content and then we distribute it out and rank. Now we start ranking for some of those keywords, those long tail keywords. It's pretty interesting. I just came into it the last couple months, and we're doing it on our own in our own businesses. So pretty interesting stuff that we got now. It's used, we use AI, and there's some manual element to it, but it's pretty cool.
I'd love to talk about that more on the side of the show. But I mean,
yeah,
literally, it's very interesting because there's always that part of, the struggle when you're marketing products. And, there's like, I use multiple strategies in the business world. So we have the grassroots, which is, feet on the ground, boots on the ground, doing the thing, using multiple channels and, different relationships. But then you have the marketing or traditional marketing that includes now anything that is digital, right? And that includes, like you talked about, the show we talked about digital marketing, same concept here. But the issue is when you talk about it, and it's one thing, but when you get into it, it's a different story. You don't see the same, ROI
right.
Again, I'm not sure if it was done right or not, but that's a question mark. But also, I think, for example, we purchase leads, which could cost a lot of money. You can defer that money and get, better ranking and get better results immediately, and your ROI is much better. So,
right.
So those are things that we definitely, I've observed on the marketing side, and I have concerns about and on the business side, but definitely it's something that they'll be interested to talk to you about and bring value. Hey, listen. There's no reason for it not to happen, right?
Well, and that's the reason why I've shifted away from the Facebook ads and the Google AdWords and all that kind of stuff. I saw the writing on the wall. I saw some of the turmoil that's happening now. Not to say it's going to get better. I think it will get better. Facebook, it's still cheap marketing, and I know how to do it. But the problem with Facebook, and Facebook's probably the cheaper of, if you're talking about Google AdWords or radio or anything like that. I mean, it's still cheaper marketing, but you're going to have to spend, if you want a good ad. And it wasn't like this in the past, but you're going to have to spend about $1,000 a week or $3,000 in 1 week. So you can do $1,000 a week for 3 weeks, and just know that money's going away. Like you're not going to probably recapture that, even if you have a good sales funnel set up, because you're going to have to figure out what the optimized image is for the ad, the optimized headline, and you can do split test, split A/B test type stuff with Facebook. They allow you to do that. Makes it actually pretty easy. So say if you spend $3,000 in a week, you can get an optimized ad, whether you use an image or video. Like you can even test the video against the image, the way, if you're spending enough money, you can do all that kind of stuff. And the funnel, right? So you can do all that. In the past, it wasn't like that. You didn't have to spend that much. And then at the end of the $3,000 or $5,000, $3,000 to $5,000, then you're going to have a pretty optimized image. And then now you can send it out. But then if you're just directing them to one page, like a sales page, without any follow-up, without any upsells, without any of that kind of stuff, you're not capturing everything. So there's an art and there's a science to the sales funnel, paid for advertising type of things. And so not that I give up on that. I just feel like the system needs a little bit of modification or evolution, I guess. It needs to evolve a little bit more to be friendly for small businesses and medium-sized businesses, because it's really friendly to the higher business, the higher functioning businesses. But that's why I came back to search engine optimization, because it is, I feel like it's the small gal's a skill that you can use, and you can circumvent the big guy, because the big guy's not willing to do that kind of stuff, because they can just pay for it. They got millions of dollars. They can just brand all over the place. And brand's great, but you can also build brand through search engine optimization, guerrilla tactics. I refer to them as.
Well, it is guerrilla marketing, but this is digital guerrilla marketing.
Yeah,
this is because we do the same thing in the trenches and in the communities, and that's another approach. But again, you have to almost have a full 360 spectrum of different approaches, and digital now is the place. A lot of people spend more time on social media and digital space than, I call it, cyber world right now. So we're in the cyberspace better more than the actual world. Right. So it's amazing, right? But so I know we're coming out to the time here at the end of the show, but I wanted to, a couple of things. The company and how we can get, hold of you. So people listening, first of all, I want to say this. It's funny because if you were listening to the beginning of the show and now you'll be like, it's two different shows. Literally, we transited so far out, it's not even funny, right? People are like, well, how did that even happen? Well, that's the way.
Did we start with baseball?
Yeah, we start with baseball. I told you it's gonna be a mix and match. It's a mashup, and we're gonna go business with pleasure. So
Yeah.
we did the pleasure, now we do the business part. But that's the fun part about this show. But the idea is really, we want to make sure that people know about your services and how to reach out to you.
Sure.
I will have the website, of course. But so what should they be looking at, or for, and what companies can be looking, to use your services?
Right. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So if anybody's interested in the search engine optimization, seeing what we offer, all that kind of stuff, they can go to leadgenerationseoservices.com. And that's our main site. We have some blog posts there. We got a lot of information. I think the homepage is like 4,000 or 5,000 words on its own. So it's got a lot of good information for the demographic, the people wondering, hey, is this right for me? So we tend to be a little higher up on the price spectrum, but we do a lot. I mean, it's all the SEO stuff. We do have other things like email marketing, and I have a marketing partner who's really good on the email marketing side. He's really good on the Facebook ads and building sales funnels, and he's really good at that. He ran $1 million political. It was like 4 conservative news sites, and then the 5th one was a Trump 2020 coin pre-election that he was doing. He did $1 million during COVID 2020, and plus it was election time, so that was pretty big. But he also learned the bad that after the election, Facebook shut that stuff down because it was all Trump related and it was all conservative related. So the Facebook, he went from, I think, 1 month $250,000 of sales to the next month like 20,000.
Wow.
So he learned some lessons too. But anyway, he takes care of that kind of stuff. But we do, straight on the content, SEO, all that kind of stuff there. For those that are interested on podcasts, because we do podcast too. We're just kind of starting, called the Lead Generation Strategies Podcast. And at that website, at the leadgenerationseoservices.com, just click podcast and it'll take you to that website if they're interested in getting on or anything like that. But
so that is, you mean the ads come on the podcast on like Spotify and all the other stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So Lead Generation Strategies Podcast. We only have 2 episodes up right now. One's a case study, and then one's the interview with my marketing partner, Austin. So we're just kind of kicking that off. We're going to be doing a little bit more with that in the future. But they can go there. And if they're want to take the next step, hey, I want to check out my site with SEO. And maybe if you guys want to do this, that'd be good, especially if we're going to meet on a phone call with your marketing department, is when you land on leadgenerationseoservices.com, right there, before you even scroll down, will be an SEO audit. So you can just put your website in there. You put your first name, email, and that'll automatically send it to you via email, and it'll give you a full report on where you guys are on your site. So you can do that. Anybody can do that. That's free. You don't have to reach out to us. You don't have to wait for me to call you or email you. You get that right away. And then if anybody out there wants to take the next step, they said, hey, okay, I'd love to sit on a call, 30-minute call, 60-minute call, and I'll go over for free. We'll go over that, and we'll look at low-hanging fruit that we can fix right now to help, at least the 80-20 rule, right? The 20% low-hanging fruit there, that's going to give you 80% of results. And for those that have teams, development teams and things like that, it's easy instructions that you can send them so that they can just go in the background and fix that stuff. So that is, no cost. But we're here to build relationships. As we talked with the baseball, we started on the baseball coaching side. We want to build relationships. We want to do business with people who want to do business with us. And, we want to make a friend in the process. It'd be nice.
That's awesome. But so I do have one question. I mean, you're very confident about the ability to make the difference and change. People usually want to feel that comfort that they're going to get. Cause there's a lot of options out there, right?
Oh yeah.
And so is there any type of, warranty guarantee that you guys offer in terms of your service? And like, I see some ads come up all the time. Like, we guarantee you that you're going to be first page in 30 days. I don't know if those are real or not. They pop up on my Facebook almost every 2 minutes.
Right. So we can't really, because you don't know the person. So those ads are definitely eye candy because you don't know the person's situation with their site. So say if I got somebody who's coming in, so I put an ad out there like that, first page of Google in 30 days. So a couple things are happening here. So one, if that person comes in and their site's brand new, like they just registered the domain, maybe they just had somebody build it, maybe it's only 2-3 months old. Well, depending on what market they're in, if they're saying Miami, Florida, or New York, right, Manhattan, and you're trying to rank for, say, insurance, right? It's going to be tough because it's a tough market. It's a big market, and there's a lot of competition there. Now, if you're in, I don't know, Spokane, I'm sure Spokane, Washington's smaller than New York or Miami, right? But a smaller area, and you want to rank in your local area there. Oh yeah, it's a lot easier to rank on Google. But what they're not telling you is, what are you going to rank for? What is it that you're going to get me on the first page with, right? Because I can get people on first page pretty quickly, 3 to 4 months for those bottom of funnel keywords, those longer tail keywords. Possibly even sooner than that, depending on the history of the site and the seasoning of the domain, right? So how long that domain's been around, how much content you have. There's other factors in there that will help you. How many backlinks do you have already coming in? If you're starting fresh, it's going to be and you're in a competitive niche, it's going to be a little bit more of a competitive to be able to get you ranking for the keywords that you want to rank for. But like I said, with the 6 deep long tails, makes it a little bit easier with the approach that we have, because it's not just the on-site, the off-site SEO, the backlinking stuff. It's the content amplification too that's really big, because that builds a lot of backlinks really quickly. We have websites in the crypto world, in the gold world. We're really heavily in the crypto right now, and it's super competitive. But there's a lot. There's like over 7,000 coins now, right? There used to be 100.
You can make your own.
You can make your own.
I know.
Your own tokens and coins, right? Yeah. So you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have the app. You can go in and create your own, and 15 minutes you have your own currency.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you could go in. So if you go on to coinmarketcap.com and you look at all the coins, there's 7,000. If you keep clicking the next page, there's 7,000 coins. So there's a lot of competition. So if you wanted to rank for, say, best exchanges, best crypto exchanges, that's going to be really tough, because you got companies that are spending millions and possibly
Bitcoin.
billions of dollars hard. But what we could do is we can take a coin that's lesser known, but that looks pretty good. Like it looks pretty high demand, but maybe the competition's not there yet. And we can take maybe 100 coin deeper. So not in the top 100, but in 100 plus, right? And we can take that kind of coin. We can create a new site, which is what we're doing. We're creating a new site that has all the news, because that's what crypto, a lot of it is the news side of things. So people want to get up to date. What's the price now? What's it going to be? What's the predictions? All that kind of stuff. And so we can rank really high for a smaller coin. And then once we get all that traffic going to that smaller coin thing, then we can shift them over to our site that is best exchanges. So if they sign up, we get an affiliate fee for, if they sign up for Coinbase or Binance or something like that. So interesting tactics. And in different niches, like you said, you cross, like MMA, right? Mixed martial arts. Like
That's
you
right.
take some,
you learn you take the best from everything. That's it.
Everything. Bruce
Lee. That's what
right?
MMA is. Yeah. You take Bruce Lee. That's correct.
Right.
You take a little bit of everything, you apply it all, and then you have the better formula that, you can do a little bit of all. That's it.
Right.
And become good at all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one last question.
Yep.
I know we've exceeded time, but it's pretty intense. I love it. So the question that everybody does a business need a certain budget to really make a difference, and and a time frame to really, because those are considerations that people have to always have.
Sure.
Small business versus a mid-sized business may have different abilities, financial or like capital backing, right? So what kind of budget are we talking about to really get someone from nothing to that page, and what can a reasonable time frame? Yeah.
So it's definitely, so our services are a little bit more on the upper end side. So it's definitely not for like small businesses that are on a shoestring budget and that are going month to month with their revenue. Definitely there's some things that we can do in the meantime to help kind of build that. But until they can get into we look at 6, 7, and 8 figure businesses a year, that this makes a lot of sense for 3 to 4 months. Say if this is a fresh site and we got to start building all this kind of stuff, and we could see some really big gains, and not only in the traffic side of things, but for those businesses that insurance, HVAC, that need phone calls, like local phone calls. So increasing the phone calls and things like that. So in search engine optimization, it's safe guarantee wise to say 3 to 4 weeks to really get some traction, where we got, sometimes we go into a site they've used other people, they've used other search engine optimization, and it might've been part of like say like a company like Reuters that does a little bit of everything, right? Reuters marketing or whatever. I have a good friend of mine that was using them, and they're kind of generalized, right? They don't go deep in a lot of the different marketing ways. They just kind of do a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of get gypped on the search engine optimization side and possibly even put in the wrong direction. So if you're getting one of the backlinking strategies is citations, is directories, getting into directories like, Yellow Pages, even though it's not, the Yellow Pages kind of is dead, but it's still a link back from a pretty prominent site or pretty credible site, right? And so citations can help to, I forgot where I was going with that part of it, but as a backlinking strategy, it's good to have that and season that as we kind of start. But the directories are also going to help with the like it's part of that backlinking strategy is going to help increase the seasoning of the site as just one example of the different backlinking strategies that we can use. But the content amplification side of it, that's a big one. That's a big promising one because we're setting different channels, we're getting in different channels, and then we're distributing it out to 200 plus different sites.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Well,
so,
again, yeah.
Oh, I guess where I was going with that was that, so if we have to go in and do citations, if we have to do them over, so a company kind of messes everything up and we have to go in and we have to redo those citations, that can hurt your rankings. So if there's black hat stuff, so if somebody hired unknowingly somebody to do their SEO, say a freelancer on Upwork or something like that, and this freelancer was doing a lot of black hat type SEO things, like we were talking about, spamming with the white words, but it's the keywords in the background. We can't see them, but Google's just going to crush their site. So do we have to erase a lot of that stuff and then restart again and re-go? So it all depends on how they come in on what we're doing. If it's fresh and it's clean, I mean, 3 to 4 months, pretty good traction. And what's interesting is we belong to a group, SEO group, and a lot of them say, I mean, once they get into it, it's almost customers for life because it makes sense. It's the reason we came back to SEO is because it creates such a foundation of leads. And if we do it right, if we're attacking or going after the customer who's search intent is bottom of funnel. I mean, you're just getting more emails, you're getting more phone calls, you're getting more people that actually want to pull the trigger, and you're not having to spend a ton of time with your content warming them up. So once the leads come, it's like a snowball. And it's evergreen, right? It's evergreen. When you stop spending money on Facebook, that's done. Like I've done that. I know what it is. I've had in the thick of the baseball about a couple of years ago when Facebook was awesome and you were getting organic reach too. So my site, my Facebook hitting Performance Lab site was gaining organically, like people following me and stuff, which doesn't happen anymore on Facebook because it's more pay to play now. But I was spending a couple $100 a day on ads, and I was getting probably 150 to 200 or I was getting about 50 cents to 75 cents per email. So I was, if I'm spending $100 a day, I'm 150 to 200 emails a day. But the minute I turn that off, all those emails stop, right? I have those emails still, but the minute I stop spending money, the leads stop. So that's what's nice about SEO is it builds over time and it's evergreen. I mean, it can go for years as long as you do the right things. You're doing white hat stuff and not black hat stuff. You
got to maintain it. Yep. Well, thank you. I mean, that's good and that's clear. And we need to talk about different things because this stuff does take time and you have to plan it.
Sure.
But so we talked about the SEO. That's business. Are you doing any with the coaching?
Yeah. So I'm still doing the coaching, and I have a core group of probably 20, 25 hitters right now, 20 to 30 hitters, mixed boys and girls, more boys than girls, that I do here locally. So I have a local thing that we do here in Fresno, California. And then I have my online, which we have many, many coaches around. I have online lessons that I do. I'm slowly going to be phasing out at least myself in that. And I'm going to have coaches that are going to take over and do that side of it as we do more on the business side of things. But we sell online courses. We do the online lessons. We got the books. So, I set out with the whole baseball thing to leverage myself in a way where I didn't have to be there all the time. The lessons I do have to be there and I have to do those, but I wanted to make sure we're equipping coaches, do it yourself coaches, Do it for you is kind of the lesson thing, where I do it for the parent, right? I tell them what to do with their son or daughter. And then the books, and it's really easy and easy to leverage those things versus the lessons. So I was able to, instead of be a king in my little area, my little local area, I was able to spider out and be a chancellor of the king, outside of
More
having hitters in Florida, out in New York. I got hitters out in New York. I got hitters out in New Jersey. I have all over the United States. So it's nice to have that reach. And like you said, you got those boots on the ground that they tell you what's going on. But yeah, so we're transitioning the last year or so, taking all the knowledge that we've learned, marketing our own stuff, because this is all our own medicine. This isn't something, we're an agency, but we're an agency that takes our own medicine. We do all this stuff with our own sites, and they can see that once they land on there. They can see the UI UX design, graphic design, which helps to funnel your prospect into what your call to action is. Do you want them to email you, contact you? Do you want them to download a white paper or a video or whatever? And so it's all our own medicine. We do this ourselves. We test it ourselves, and I think that's a big thing versus the big agencies, right? The big dinosaur agencies.
You are actually your first client, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I use that line all the time, because
field general.
you gotta be it. Because you speak by experience, and no one, again, when someone challenges you, well, here, you can see my business.
What happened?
It's applying it. Exactly. So you can have real evidence to this. Well, listen, Joey, it's been real. I mean, we could do another show and we're not going to end up here. So it's good. But I think we did a good mix here. I mean, this is going also on the Sales World, TV, which is the other channel.
Yep.
It's because it's all business, and it's going to benefit a lot of people in a lot of different angles. Anybody that loves baseball, that's a good show. Anybody that wants to talk about, the fitness world and just the fun part, we have it. Anybody on the business side, we have it. And the business here goes beyond just the typical strategy and leadership. We go and also tactical thing that you can use to market your business. So folks, it's like I said, it's a mashup show. It's a little bit of, it's a buffet of information. Take what you can, just use it, or you're gonna lose it. So that's the concept. I think we have an opportunity here. So folks, please, check out the description of the show. Joey, that being said, any last words that we want to close the show with?
No, I think we said a lot. I appreciate your time and let me come on and talk. My wife, when I get to talk to other people, she loves it because I get it all out of my system, type of thing. And, the dog that's hyperactive, you got to take him out for a walk, to burn some of the energy off. So she appreciates that. But no, I would say parting thoughts. I would say, the top two things that the last couple of years that I've really gotten honed in on are discernment and critical thinking, right? So whether it's choosing a service or it's some of the topics we discussed today, use discernment. So don't just do things just to do it. Use your brain, think about the case studies, right? Case studies, testimonials, all that kind of stuff. And then the critical thinking. And I feel like we need a little bit more of that in our society. I feel like that kind of went by the wayside. We saw over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. I feel like, we need to return back to that. We need to question things. And that's what I've done my whole life, whether it's baseball or whether it's business. And people even some of the gurus that we listen to that always questioning, you try it doesn't work. If you did exactly the way they did it, then maybe it just didn't work in your industry. But just using a little bit more discernment, a little bit more critical thinking, I think goes a long way.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Joey, thank you so much for the time. Folks, thank you for watching and listening. Well, watching in a lot of channels right now, but also listening on the iHealth Radio. I enjoyed this discussion. It was awesome. And we'll be talking soon. Different guests, different show, different topic. Stay tuned. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See ya.